Guys, what's up and welcome to the Blitzpool Fan Zone. I'm Rohan Manglani and with me a very special guest, Gaurav Asumal. What's up, man?
Good to be here.
Good to have you.
Excited.
Well, Gaurav has finished in the top 20,000 for 4 years in a row in the official fantasy. So he has a lot to bring to the Blitzpools fantasy. I hope you've been following our cricket Blitzpools fantasy. And
I have, and you guys are much better than me at cricket, but football I've done.
You're the guru in football at the moment, and I mean you've been doing it consistently, man, and in such a tough season.
Yeah, 4 years in a row. I think in the top 0.5% in the world. But it's something I love, and I think you love sport as well. And
I'm always actually asking him for tips in terms of fantasy and all that.
Yeah.
But it's great. Okay, so guys, we are going to talk about two segments, Gaurav, today. Obviously, one is your team, which is playing a final after how many years?
Too many years. As usual. Well, Champions League a couple of years ago, so not too long.
Not too long.
Yeah.
But still, the trophy drought is on. But we are talking about Manchester City versus Tottenham Hotspur, 9 p.m. on Sunday night. Now, Gaurav, let's get straight into the game. Mourinho sacking, massive. I mean, around that also, there's been this entire European Super League thing which has been happening, and we will, talk about that a little later. But what's the deal with Spurs at the moment?
Yeah, look, I don't think we're in a good place. I don't think we've been in a good place for a couple of years. I am and always have been a Pochettino fan. So for me, Mourinho coming in was probably never going to be something that I was going to be too happy with. And I think we've been on a downward spiral for the last couple of years. Having said that, I think we overachieved when Pochettino was around as well.
Yeah.
But look, I don't think we're in a great space, especially with the sacking and the uncertainties before the final.
Yeah, but there was so much. I mean, 17 months ago when Mourinho did come in, I think there was a buzz. That it seemed like the right decision to take Spurs from where they were to a much higher level. So, and the transfers also happened. I think Spurs had a very good transfer season. You got in some good players, got in Bale, Højbjerg.
Højbjerg, a fantastic buy.
Yeah.
Bale, I think it was probably just a hope that he would come back to what he, even a percentage of what he was. But look, I think we're years on, and I think he's older. I personally don't. Yes, there was hype with Mourinho because Mourinho is a big name. But what's he actually achieved recently? I think the game's moved on. I don't think he's kept up with the game. I think it's important for us to understand that his great days were at Chelsea.
Yeah.
And
you mean the first time, right?
The first time. I mean,
I would tend to think that after he came back, after he left Madrid or got sacked from Madrid, nothing has actually materialized for him.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? I think everyone talks about Mourinho. Look, he's won trophies. We can't take that away from him. I think the Porto Champions League was probably his greatest moment.
Yeah.
The Milan Champions League was another great moment. But let's look at the Premier League. It was when his first phase, it was probably a 3-horse race. The Invincibles had just finished, so they were aging. When you talk about the United, they were also aging towards his second stint for sure, and even his first. So ultimately, it was a 2-3-horse race that he's gone and won with Chelsea with billions of dollars behind him.
Yeah.
In Real Madrid, it's always been a 2-horse race. In Porto, apart from the Champions League, they were the dominant force in Portuguese football.
Yeah.
In Italy, you're looking at two teams again at that time.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Juventus were actually deducted points at one phase when he was there. So really, people talk about Mourinho being great. And yes, his 2 achievements.
And all this you mentioned with some heavy money, some heavy funding.
Exactly. He's done it, Real Madrid at the time. Look, people talk about the Super League and all the rest of the things. I mean, Real Madrid being one of the drivers on that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, these guys have gone bankrupt. They've built Galacticos after Galacticos after Galacticos. Of course, the money's going to run out, right?
That is true.
So Mourinho at the time, was in this movement, where they were spending money. So, look, I've never been, when I really look at Mourinho, 2 phenomenal achievements without a doubt: the Inter Milan and the Porto Champions League. Outside of that, with the money that he had accessible and the teams that he was playing in and around, nothing that I've ever been too impressed with.
Okay, one quick question now that he's done with the Premier League, obviously you can't compare him with Sir Alex Ferguson, or you can't compare him even with Arsene Wenger. Can you compare him still with Ancelotti, or even is Ancelotti also greater than he is? I mean, than Mourinho?
I think I rate Ancelotti. I think what he's done at Everton as well this season. I think they've been really hurt with injuries. You know, Everton is a club this year that has done phenomenally well. James Rodriguez, a phenomenal signing, out injured, had his issues. Calvert-Lewin out at the moment. You know, I think Ancelotti for me is on par with Mourinho, but Klopp, Guardiola, a league of their own.
Yeah.
Brendan Rodgers I'd put in the conversation as well to what he's achieved with Leicester.
That's true. That's very true. All right, so moving on now. Spurs has Ryan Mason, who's 29 years old.
Yeah.
The trophy drought is older, unfortunately, but I'm sorry, but I mean, no. Okay, what are you expecting on Sunday?
Look, I'm a realist, right? And I'd love to sit here and say Spurs are going to win it. We're not going to win it. Manchester City, especially after losing that semi-final FA Cup against Chelsea, have now got the treble to fight for.
Yeah.
I think the Premier League's done. You know, that looks like it's done, unless the FA come in and do something drastic.
Well, I mean that's another.
Yeah, I'm expecting a comfortable 3-1 City win. If I'm being just completely a realist here.
Well, 3-1 City win it is. And guys, don't forget, in the next segment, we are talking about our teams. Alright guys, we are talking about our teams. Now, like I told you, Gaurav has finished in the top 20,000 amongst 7 million players 4 years in a row. How do you do it, man? I mean... I love fantasy sports generally. I think what I do tend to do is I look ahead and I play fixtures over form. Because I think good fixtures result in good form. Yeah.
For an example, I used my wildcard last week, and I actually have started looking ahead to game week 35 as a potential double game week. And effectively, I still have my bench boost. So what I've done is I've built my whole team just planning 5 weeks in advance, 4 weeks in advance, and that's what I've just done over the years. And I think playing safe on the captain, I usually just go with the big hitters. I don't gamble on my captain.
Yeah, I know about this. I mean, because I talk to you often about the fantasy, and I know that you do plan in advance your game weeks. Now, that of course is the official fantasy. Now, in Blitz pools, it's different. It's more interesting. It's a weekly thing.
Yeah.
So, how do you go about your strategy when it comes to the Blitz pools?
Yeah, so Blitz pools is pretty straightforward. I look at XG, expected goals, XG non-penalty, XGA, which is expected assists and goals combined. And then I of course look at the home away form of certain teams, and I sort of try and put together more players from the favourites. So on Blitz pools you have to pick 11 players as from that particular week. So 7 I usually end up picking from a stronger team and then build up. And if I think there's going to be a clean sheet, then of course I go heavy on the defence. If I think there's going to be a 0-0, so for example, let's just say a Sheffield United Burnley, I'd probably go 5 at the back and just try and lock in 2 clean sheets.
Yeah, that's a good strategy, and I think that this gaming system actually gives you that freedom to express yourself and what you actually feel. Because you're so restricted in the other fantasies which we play.
Exactly.
In this, it just gives you that, and also there's nothing from the last week which is carried forward.
Correct. It's a different. So it's more match day fantasy, right? So you can actually just pick your team for the particular game that you want to play. Yeah. And this point scoring systems are different, but it's just fun. It's great fun.
So are you ready to discuss your team?
I mean, I'm ready. I think this is a tough one because I think we're doing
and there's no home and away, it's Wembley, so
I think what we're looking at there's still some doubts around some injuries.
Correct.
I think we obviously are hoping for the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, who picked up a small knock, to be fit. Harry Kane could be rested for Southampton for this final. And then, of course, your usual Pep roulette that is probably the hardest thing to navigate. So, ready.
That's great. Okay, so shall we start with our keepers?
Yeah.
Who have you gone with?
So, I needed some money, so I've gone for Stefan.
That's very interesting. Straight as we start. Why Stefan?
So, Stefan's played in goal for City in the sort of the English League Cup competitions. He played even the semi-final of the FA Cup. But again, Pep being Pep may have said, we lost that game and we need some more stability. But I'm gonna back Stefan.
Well, I've gone for Lloris simply because I think that if Spurs have any chance of winning this game, and I feel that new manager sack. There's going to be some kind of pump in the team to perform. Fans have expectations. It's a heavy time going on.
Yeah.
City, for that matter, is there in 2-3 competitions. They just got out of the FA Cup, but they're still alive in the Champions League. They're winning the Premier League for sure. So I feel that these guys will be more pumped. And hence, I'm going to go with Lloris. He's going to lead from the front as captain of Spurs, is what I feel.
Look, I like I say, I think it's Lloris is a good keeper. He's got a mistake in him. We've seen it in even the World Cup final, if you remember, his scuff.
Oh well, yeah, but I mean,
so he has got a mistake in him. But look, Lloris is definitely a better keeper than Stefan. But I'm gonna obviously be backing a little bit heavier on the City.
Okay, side. And what are your back three?
So I'm actually playing 4 at the back. So my 4 at the back is Aurier at
same
right back.
Yeah.
I've gone Diaz. As I think he's the most nailed.
Yeah.
I've taken a risk on Laporte.
Yeah, same here.
Stones Laporte is obviously probably the toss-up of who starts in that.
I think that he'll actually start with Laporte because he wants to establish that for the Champions League later on in the week. So I feel that he'll probably go with that, to get the Diaz and the Laporte thing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a risk to fantasy players. I think if you are looking at it, I think maybe the Diaz would be enough from the partnership of the centre back. I think Laporte, Stones, who knows.
And left back?
I've actually gone for Kyle Walker as my fourth defender.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so that's a good one.
The reason why is I think he is someone who offers a lot more on that right hand side against Son. I think Cancelo will struggle against Son on the left.
Because he gets too forward.
He gets too forward, so I think there'll be holes in the back if they do decide to go with Cancelo. So I think Kyle Walker defensively is stronger than Cancelo is. Yes, Cancelo can play on the left as well, which is a possibility, but on that right hand side I see Kyle Walker starting at right back.
So I've gone for Reguilón because I think that the positions he's got into this season have been just too good. I mean, the way he gets in the front, and look, City are going to establish themselves on the game. They are going to control position. They are going to play with a high line. I feel Reguilón makes that break.
So he does.
And sometimes he gets in the box and he gets in the center, and it's unbelievable his positioning sometimes.
Yeah, he's quick. He's quick.
Yeah.
He's attacking.
Yeah.
Look, I think his output has been disappointing this year in terms of actual assists and for the positions he gets in, but he's definitely gets in the right positions, and I think he will be overlapping with Son on that left hand side, especially with Davies out. I don't see another left back starting for Spurs.
Fair enough. And let's move on to the midfield then.
Yeah, so my midfield, I've gone 5 in the middle.
Same here.
Yeah, so I've gone with obviously Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah. If fit.
Yeah. But he's the first name on my sheet if he is fit, ahead of Kane. I've gone with Bernardo Silva, Son, Mahrez, and Foden.
Yeah, so I've gone with Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Son, Foden, and with Gundogan.
And
Gundogan.
Yeah.
Because I just
no
feel
Lucas Moura.
No Lucas Moura. I mean, I'm thinking about Lucas Moura is in case KDB can't play that game, I'll probably opt for Lucas Moura, because I also do remember that, and also this is depending on whether Kane plays or no, but I feel that Lucas Moura will be the outlet if Kane doesn't play.
Yeah, I personally think we should. I can't see a scenario of Bale playing on the right. Again, just because I don't think Bale will track back enough, and I think he'll get eaten alive.
For the Arsenal game, I was with Jeff and I told him the same thing, that that if Bale starts, I'm happier.
Yeah, I've as an Arsenal fan for sure.
Yeah, no, because I think he's gotten too old to put in that work rate.
That's why I think Moura has been phenomenal for us, because he's really tracked back. He's a workhorse. For me, he's been our best player over the last few games consistently.
Yeah, and he also comes alive, I think, at this point in the season. If you remember when Spurs made the Champions League final.
Yeah, he scored his
without Kane.
Without Kane. Yeah, Moura is an interesting pick, and I think he would be the one that I would probably look to bring in the event I decided to go against one of the other mids. But I think so. But Gundo is a great pick. Everyone was talking when KDB was out about his. Now that KDB is back, does he play deeper? He hasn't been playing deeper. He's still very much a box.
No, so that's another reason, right? Like, I'm going for Gundogan because I think that irrespective of KDB playing the game, he won't complete the game. And Gundogan kind of, when KDB is not there, Gundogan plays that role automatically.
That 10 role, yeah.
He gets into those positions and he makes that final pass. That's what Man City have been playing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think City, City played in the FA Cup semi-final. They played Rodri and Fernandinho as a two, and I think that didn't work. What was happening in that FA Cup semi-final was there was no outlet from the defence to midfield to get the ball up front, right? I think two holding midfielders in Rodri and Fernandinho was overkill. I don't see Pep doing the same thing in this game. So I definitely see Gundo having a little bit more freedom, with Rodri probably just sitting right behind. Great pick.
Yeah. Well, we've both gone for 5 in the middle. Now it leaves us with one spot in the front.
There's only one.
There's only one. If not fit, I mean, it would be Jesus, I think, in that situation.
So again, you see, when you're talking about fantasy, the most important thing is obviously to get players who are going to play.
Yeah.
The beauty actually as well on Blitzpools is you can actually pick your player after the lineups are out.
Yeah.
If Jesus is starting, I would take Jesus. If Aguero is starting, I would take Aguero.
Yeah.
I think outside of that, not too many other picks. I don't think Vinicius is somebody I would turn to.
Yeah. That's true. Well, guys, you've heard our teams. Do make your teams, and the rules will follow next on the screen. Playing does involve a little bit of a financial risk, so play responsibly and play at your own risk. Thank you. Alright guys, let's just go through the rules in scoring. For every player who's played 55 minutes or more, he gets 2 points. Played less than 55 minutes, there's a point given. For every goal scored by a goalkeeper or a defender, that's 10 points. For every goal scored by a midfielder, that's 9 points. For every goal scored by a forward, that's 8 points. For every assist, that's 5 points. For every 20 passes completed by a player, that's a single point. For a clean sheet by a midfielder, that's a single point again. That's a clean sheet for a goalkeeper or defender is valued at 5 points. For every 3 shots saved by a goalkeeper, that's 2 additional points. For every penalty saved by a goalkeeper, that's 9 points. For every 3 successful tackles made, that's a point again. For a yellow card, it is -1. For a red card, it is -3. For every own goal, it is -2. For every 2 goals conceded by a goalkeeper or defender, it is -1. For every penalty missed by a player, it is -2.